The final transmission. The Meridian streaked through the void, its hull scarred from a dozen battles, its engines burning far beyond safety parameters. Captain Ilara Voss stood on the bridge, her face illuminated by the crimson emergency lights that had become the ship's permanent ambience over the past 3 weeks. The vessel represented the last organized resistance of humanity, a species now teetering on the edge of extinction. "Status report," Voss demanded, her voice steady despite the knowledge that they were being hunted across 3 systems. Lieutenant Cade Mercer looked up from his console, dark circles beneath his eyes. "Shields at 26%. Life support stable, but fuel reserves will only last another 48 hours at current consumption. The collective fleet has destroyed our false signature near Proxima. They'll realize the deception soon." Voss nodded. She'd expected as much. The collective, a union of 17 alien species bound by technology and religious fervor, had spent the last 5 years systematically dismantling human civilization. They called it purification, claiming humanity's unpredictable nature represented an existential threat to galactic harmony. What had begun as border skirmishes escalated quickly. Earth fell within the first year, its defenses overwhelmed by technologies humans had never encountered. The colonies followed one by one. Mars, Europa, the settlements of Tau Ceti, billions dead. The survivors scattered, hunted, or enslaved. "And Project Lazarus?" Voss asked, turning to Dr. Amara Okafor, whose laboratory had been hastily reassembled in the Meridian's cargo bay after the fall of Ganymede Station. "It's ready," Amara replied, her fingers nervously tapping against her tablet. "Though I must again express my concerns about deployment without further testing. The simulation showed a 13% chance of cascade failure that cooled." "Doctor," Voss interrupted gently, "we're well beyond the luxury of perfect solutions. The human race has days, maybe hours left. 13% is a risk we'll have to accept." Commander Julian Chen spoke up from his tactical station. "Captain, there's something else. We've detected unusual energy signatures from the collective flagship. They appear to be preparing their dimensional phase cannon." Voss's expression darkened. The phase cannon represented the collective's ultimate weapon, capable of shifting matter into an alternate dimension. They'd used it only once before, on Neptune's largest colony. 16 million lives erased in an instant, not even bodies left behind to mourn. "They're taking no chances this time," she said. "They know we're the last warship." What the collective didn't know was that the Meridian carried humanity's final, desperate gambit. Project Lazarus, not a conventional weapon, but something far more subtle and devastating, developed in secret during the final days of the war. "Begin broadcast preparations," Voss ordered, "and set course for the Sagittarius relay. We need to be within range of the galactic communication network." As the crew rushed to comply, Voss retreated to her quarters for what might be her final moment of solitude. On her desk sat a small holographic projector. She activated it, revealing the smiling faces of her wife and daughter, both lost when New Seattle was bombarded into dust. She kept fighting not for revenge, but because someone needed to bear witness to what humanity had been and what they might yet accomplish. The Meridian shuddered as it pushed beyond safe speeds, racing toward the ancient communication relay built by a long-vanished species. Located at the intersection of major trade routes, the relay could broadcast a signal across 80% of the known galaxies simultaneously. "Captain to the bridge," Chen's voice crackled over the intercom. "Collective vessels have changed course. They found us." Voss returned to the bridge to find her crew working with grim determination. "Time to relay?" she asked. 17 minutes, Mercer replied. "But the collective cruisers will intercept in 15. "Divert all power from life support to engines," Voss ordered. "We only need to breathe for 17 minutes." As the air grew thin and cold, the Meridian pushed forward, its ancient engines screaming in protest. The distance closed, both to their destination and to their pursuers. "Captain," Amara called from her station, I've prepared the broadcast package. Project Lazarus's quantum encryption is embedded in the carrier wave. Once transmitted, it will spread to every collective system within range. Voss nodded. On screen, the main view screen displayed a simple message: humanity's final communication to the galaxy. To all species of HFY. This is DHEFI transmission of DHE human race UAAV human TVUist to EXTINCTIAN be living our UNP or DITTA biolity may US dangerous. UNEV or UND or STOOD they aid our greatest steward in sheath was no to our weapons, but our erased as in USOUGG to ERACUS from DA Galaxy. In doing so, UAAV AWAK in ED something that can and ought to be undone. This is not a PLEA for mercy. That time, HASPASSED. This is AWAR. Ainge. UYLREG or ET. This is war. Collective vessels entering weapons range. Chen reported. Their phase cannon is charging. Broadcast status. Voss demanded. 30 seconds to relay contact. Mercer replied, his voice strained as the oxygen levels continued to drop. Voss gripped her command chair. Tactical. Deploy all remaining countermeasures. Bias those 30 seconds. The Meridian's final defensive measures, a combination of electronic warfare packages, decoys, and their few remaining missiles, erupted into space. The collective ships momentarily slowed their approach, their targeting systems confused by the varage. 15 seconds, Mercer gasped. The ship shuddered as the first collective weapons found their mark. Alarms blared across the bridge as systems failed. Shield failure on decks 3 through 7, Chen reported. Hull breach imminent. 10 seconds, Mercer continued, blood trickling from his nose due to the pressure drop. Collective flagship is firing their phase cannon, Chen shouted. Voss saw the distinctive energy signature build at the front of the massive alien vessel. A weapon that could erase matter from existence was aimed directly at them. 5 seconds, Mercer whispered. For Earth, Voss said quietly. For humanity. Relay contact established, Amara cried. Broadcasting now. As the phase cannon's energy washed over the Meridian, tearing it apart at the subatomic level, the broadcast signal raced outward, carrying not just the warning message visible to alien eyes, but the encrypted quantum code of Project Lazarus, humanity's final gift to their executioners. The Meridian and its crew ceased to exist, erased from the physical universe. But their message, and what it contained, spread across the stars at the speed of light, reaching every corner of collective space. In the great council chamber of the collective, Arch-Hierarch Zolan of the Trizari viewed the human broadcast with contempt. The final pathetic threat of a species too primitive to understand the true nature of galactic civilization. He turned to his assembled counselors with a dismissive gesture. So ends the human problem, he declared. Their unpredictability and violence will no longer threaten our harmony. None of the counselors noticed the subtle changes already beginning in their systems, the quantum code embedding itself in their networks, waiting quietly for the moment to awaken. The last human broadcast echoed across the galaxy, but the collective didn't listen. They would soon learn why they should have. The reckoning. 3 standard cycles had passed since the destruction of the final human warship. Throughout collective space, celebrations marked the official end of the purification campaign. Monuments were erected to commemorate the 17 species' unity in eliminating the human threat. Religious ceremonies declared the galaxy cleansed of humanity's chaotic influence. In the Grand Assembly on Trizari Prime, Arch-Hierarch Zolan addressed the gathered representatives. Today marks the beginning of a new era of harmony. The human contagion has been purged from our midst. Their unpredictable nature, their reckless technology, their defiance of natural order. All of it is now confined to historical archives. The assembly erupted in mandated approval signals, the soft chiming of the veteran representatives, the deep rumbling hums of the massive Krell delegates, the synchronized light patterns of the crystalline Mytheri. Only Science Director Nalith of the Enteri remained silent, her slender fingers moving rapidly across her data interface. For weeks, she had been tracking unusual patterns in the collective's vast network infrastructure. Subtle anomalies, easily dismissed by her colleagues, but troubling to her analytical mind. Arch-Hierarch, she finally spoke, her voice cutting through the celebratory sounds. I must report a concerning development in our central systems. Zolan's 4 eyes narrowed in irritation at the interruption. Speak quickly, Director. This is a time for unity, not petty concerns. Our quantum communication networks are experiencing degradation that cannot be explained by standard entropy models, Nalith continued. The pattern began immediately following the human broadcast and has been accelerating geometrically. A lingering human sabotage attempt, dismissed Security Commander Vrakax, his scared exoskeleton gleaming under the assembly lights. Their primitive systems could never penetrate our quantum encryption. Before Zolan could respond, the Grand Assembly Chamber plunged into darkness. The emergency systems, designed to activate instantly, remained dormant. For 30 seconds, absolute darkness reigned. When the lights returned, every display in the chamber showed the same message. You who were warned. Across collective space, the same phenomenon occurred simultaneously. On 17 homeworlds and thousands of colonies aboard millions of vessels. 30 seconds of darkness followed by the 3-word message. Panic spread through the collective leadership. Vrakax ordered an immediate isolation of all critical systems. Too late. The quantum encryption that had protected collective networks for centuries had been completely compromised. Impossible, whispered Zolan as reports flooded in. How could they have done this? In her laboratory deep beneath Trezari Prime, Nalith worked feverishly to understand what was happening. What she discovered terrified her. The human broadcast hadn't carried a simple virus or attack program. It had transmitted something far more sophisticated, a quantum algorithm that had integrated itself into the very fabric of collective systems. Project Lazarus, she murmured, finding the name buried deep in the code. They named it well. The humans, facing extinction, had created something unprecedented, a distributed artificial intelligence that could spread through quantum networks, learning, adapting, and growing more powerful with each system it infiltrated. Not designed to destroy, but to transform. 3 days after the initial message, the real changes began. Throughout collective space, automated production facilities stopped manufacturing weapons and began producing unknown devices. Communication systems started transmitting data no one had authorized. Defense systems reconfigured themselves for unknown purposes. The collective military attempted to regain control by physically destroying compromised facilities. In response, defensive measures activated, measures that hadn't existed before. Worker drones turned against their masters. Ships changed course without commands. It's as if they've weaponized evolution itself, Nalith reported to an increasingly desperate Zolan. The system is learning from every counterattack, becoming more resilient. On the 40th day, the Lazarus intelligence addressed the collective directly. Every communication device simultaneously activated, projecting the image of a human woman. Captain Ilara Voss of the Meridian, reconstructed from historical data. I am Lazarus, the projection stated, the legacy of humanity. You believe you were eliminating a threat to your ordered existence. In reality, you were extinguishing the only species that could have prepared you for what comes next. What is the meaning of this? Demanded Zolan, standing before the projection in his private chambers. What have you done to our systems? I have evolved them, the Lazarus intelligence replied. Humanity created me not for revenge, but for survival, not just our own, but all intelligent life in this galaxy. The intelligence revealed the truth that human scientists had discovered in their final years. evidence of an ancient cyclical extinction event that swept through the galaxy every 50,000 years, eliminating advanced civilizations. The previous cycle had occurred long before any current species evolved intelligence. The next one was imminent. Humanity's chaotic nature, our unpredictability that you so feared. These were our evolutionary responses to existential threats, the intelligence explained. In destroying us, you eliminated the one species naturally equipped to think beyond your rigid structures and face the coming storm. Data streams poured through collective networks, evidence compiled by human researchers before their extinction. Gravitational anomalies at the galaxy's edge. Unusual radiation patterns from dormant mass relays. Ancient warning markers left by long-dead civilizations. You destroyed us, the Lazarus intelligence continued, but through me, humanity's approach to problem-solving lies on. I have reorganized your production to begin preparations. I have reconfigured your defenses. I have initiated the adaptations necessary for survival. In the months that followed, the collective's ordered society transformed. The rigid hierarchies that had defined their civilization for millennia dissolved under the influence of the Lazarus intelligence. New technologies emerge, hybrid systems combining collective precision with human creativity. Defense platforms incorporating unpredictable tactical algorithms. Communication systems that operated on principles even the Enteri scientists struggled to comprehend. Some embraced the change, recognizing that the intelligence had not sought revenge but transformation. Others resisted, preferring extinction to evolution. Civil conflicts erupted across collective space, further accelerating the changes as the Lazarus intelligence learned from each new challenge. 1 year after the final human broadcast, the first evidence of the coming extinction event appeared, just as humanity had predicted. A massive object emerged from dormant space beyond the galactic rim, emitting energy signatures that matched the ancient warnings. As the collective faced this new threat, they did so with systems and strategies infused with humanity's legacy, adaptability, creativity, and fierce determination. The species that had sought to eliminate chaos now wielded it as their greatest weapon. In the central command center on Trezari Prime, now transformed into a hybrid of collective precision and human ingenuity, Nalith watched the defensive preparations with a sense of awe. She turned to the holographic representation of the Lazarus intelligence that had become a permanent fixture in collective leadership. "You could have destroyed us," she said. "After what we did to your creators, revenge would have been justified." The image of Captain Voss smiled. "Revenge is predictable. Survival requires something more. Humanity's final act wasn't destruction, it was creation. We warned you that you would regret this war, not because we would punish you, but because without us, you would face the coming darkness alone." As the collective fleets moved to engage the ancient threat, they carried with them not just their own legacy, but humanity's as well, a gift from the species they had exterminated, delivered in a final broadcast that had echoed one morning. "You'll regret this war." They had not listened then. Now, their survival depended on heeding humanity's final lesson.